You may.
Okay, so this you can tell me if it's completely worth it to discuss this. This 4 levels that we're talking about, well, we just did talk about, of Purim, Gufim, and Neshama Shmata. Earlier in this mimer, I think, we spoke about the four, I don't know what we call them, expressions of Torah, Beis, and the Nakudas, and the Tagim, the Tagim. Right?
Right.
Do these 4s have anything to do one with the other?
Louder.
Yes. What's the matter?
Are you willing to say a few words about that?
No, not really. We're not going to create our own mimer. It's fine. It's enough what we have in the mimer.
Right.
We will start the point where we started, but we did not really get into it, discuss it to the extent that we can. The bottom third of page Lamed Beis, page Lev, according to Shlomo Yonason. There's writing on this. It's not yours? No. The line starts with what ho'atzmus shalamayla v'chinas hamshoch.
Mine starts again, sorry.
Ho'atzmus. There are 2 lines. One side, the line above starts v'atzmus, and it's a ho'atzmus. Shalamayla v'chinas hamshoch, gam v'chinas ha'chochma shebe'atzmus. It's not nimshach even in the chochma shebe'atzmus. The one thing that I feel that we haven't sufficiently presented is the principle of chochma. We said Chochmah is an incomplete. Chochmah is interested only in the pure truth itself and so forth. And we also touched upon the elements that distinguish Chochmah from the Etzem Ha'oinig. Because that also needs attention, so to speak, because Chochmah actually has Oinag Behelim, and it is based on Oinag. One, in fact, is the unique quality of Chochmah per se. The Oinag element, that comes from Oinag. So Chochmah is privy to the Oinag, and it brings down. But what is the function of Chochmah? Put it this way. The principle of Chochmah is that Chochmah is in fact outside of the Yetzim. Up until Chochmah, everything is internal to the Yetzim. If we speak in normal terms, of Oineg and Rotzain, Oineg and Rotzain are completely contained within the Yetzim. There is no way that one can identify what the Oineg is about and what Rotzen is about. because it's part and parcel of the Yetzer. As we pointed out, when we spoke about the stone, that the stone also has, represented, is like an etzer. What's missing in the stone from being a true etzer? It is that it doesn't. It's not even aware of itself. It doesn't have a rotzen. It doesn't have a noina. Definitely, it's not an etzer. True etzer means that it is etzer in the true sense of the word. There is the full complement of reality in the etzer. Starting from Oineg and Rotzen, of course, includes everything. Chochmah is out. Just as we explained, going back to the mashal of sight, which we all recognize that sight is a very, very fine comparison to Chochmah, in a different level completely, but very realistic. And I just want to interject here. We mentioned this many times. I want to interject here to realize the great chesed, the great kindness in the creation of man, adoration created. Chochmah, that is what connects him to reality. What triggers his awareness of Chochmah? It is that he has a similar experience on the physical level. And that triggers him, that reminds him of his Chochmah. Just as the Gemara says that that to trigger, to reveal Seichel, there has to be a physical trigger because we are in the physical world. As we say all the time, that it is that the human being is life in a body, but it's life in a body, and the only aspect of life that he can become aware of is that which ultimately is reminded. It comes to him to some kind of a bodily experience. This is not what he ultimately recognizes, but there's a bodily experience that triggers it, that reminds him of it.
That's like saying he has to start with body. He has to start with a body experience, and that triggers.
I'm sorry, it reminds him of what?
Of the chayas that he has. They start with the body element that you said, Innocent. This is one of the great challenges. Because normally we say that the starter, that's the reality. And here is where we have to make a big distinction. The body doesn't start it. The chayas is there inherently. And as the Rambam says, that prior to Chochmah we already know there is a first being. How? Because we have a nefesh, we are alive. But to become aware of it on the conscious level, that we need a physical trigger. But once we have the physical trigger, then it actually reveals to us what we are really about, what we really are aware of. And the awareness is way beyond the physical. So, sight is the physical trigger for us to realize the Iyur HaChochmah. And sight, it has this marvelous combination. On the one hand, we all realize sight is an external observation. You're observing. You are separate from this and you're observing. But as a result of that observation, you relate not just to external to the observation. You relate to the essence of what you're observing, which precedes observation. It definitely relates you to the reality in which you are. Sight makes you aware of it. Because of the quality and the refinement, as you said many times, it is total beetle, total transparency. This is why you become aware of the reality. But the actual experience that comes as a result of that, what it triggers in the person, is way beyond observation. It puts him smack in the middle of reality of the world. Not observation. Observation, by definition, means I can observe and not observe. I can relate and not relate. It's observation. I can look and look away. So that's the observation part of sight. But what sight connects you to is to reality that you cannot deny its existence. By looking away from it, it's not lost. It's there all the time. And what we are aware, what we actually see, the chush hariyah, not the physical sighting. And we have already discussed it on many different levels. The chush, because sight, the real experience of sight is that which the physical sight allows us in us. How we react to this in the nefesh. The chush hariyah, that relates us not to what we see, but to the source of what we see. Like we say, why is it there? What is it about? This is the real experience. This is the chush hariyah. So here we have, in sight, at the physical level, we have a coordination, a perfect unity between an external observation, and the external observation brings us to an internal connection. That's a miracle. How can you know inside from the outside? And this is what Chochmah is. Chochmah is also a koyach. A koyach means an ability to act. Action is external. In the nefesh, the higher koyach, the koyach ma'akifim, are not ability to act, it's ability to be. This is ability to act, to define and to understand. So Chochmah is a koyach, and at the same time, this koyach relates and is privy to that which is beyond koyach, to oinek. Oinek is beyond koyach. Although it's also the helem in the koyach, in the Chochmah is aware of this helem.
And that's the miracle, that this gap is bridged.
Yeah. And
what is discussing here that you don't feel you adequately addressed before?
The principle that Chochmah is a koyach, to focus on the koyach element of the observation of the external aspect. And this is where the big miracle of it is, that this is external, it's an actual functioning koyach, an experience, and yet it connects you to the essence. And that is how this truth is brought into the world, because world is all external. That's what world is. World is coordination of multiple things. This is the reason for the great confusion that people have come to see. Hey, there's no essence. There is only coordination of multiple things. Missing the point of that Chochmah brings. And this is the meaning when you say that this oineg is oineg atzmi that is higher than hamshocha b'bchinas hachochma shebe'atzmus. Higher than hamshocha, even in chochma, and higher than hamshocha, even in chochma shebe'atzmus. What is chochma shebe'atzmus? We are not going into this, certainly not at this point. Just to point out, chochma shebe'atzmus means they have within atzmus the sense that there could be action, external action, external observation. So I'm not going into this, but point out if chochma shebe'atzmus, why not? Why can't this oineg relate to chochma shebe'atzmus? He said because chochma, the whole principle of chochma is that it's an observation, that it's external, it's a koyach. Even that the koyach as it is internally, it is an internal observation of the internal truth. That's an observation. It's an what's okay, enough.
Say that again? Just this last phrase. Say that again.
It's an internal observation. Okay. There's an element. It's a phenomenal element. And it's called makir asatzmi, to know oneself. It's an amazing thing. A person is himself. What's the point of knowing himself? What does it mean he knows himself? Knowing means that you know it by this knowledge you know about it. That's means knowing.
Then you get like a step down, right?
Huh?
It's like a step down. What
It would seem that way. It would seem that way. What's meant you know yourself? How can you in order to know yourself, it would seem that you have to divorce yourself from yourself. What's meant you know yourself? Someone else, you say, I know him. Because that's the only way, that's my only means of connecting to him, by knowing him. But yourself, you are yourself. So, this is, I said, this is the phenomenal principle of Chochmah. We said that there is oineg in every last part of the human being, every last limb of the human being. There is an element of oineg. This element of oineg is supplied and is disseminated throughout the entire human being from the Chochmah. Chochmah is the first privy to the first connection to this oineg. And from there it's disseminated throughout the entire human presence. And from this oineg perspective, there is no awareness. The finger is a living finger. You're not aware that you have life in the finger. It's a living finger. At the same time, because it comes through the Chochmah, there is also the ability to know, to aware. A person can relate and be aware of every part of his body instantaneously, because it all is connected to his Chochmah, and it's coming from his Chochmah. So Chochmah provides the actual life element and provides also the element of the awareness. Where do we see the awareness element? The awareness element is very simple. When you decide, I want to go from point A, I want to go from here to here. you have to then contemplate, okay, how do I get there? Oh, I have feet. Feet, are you willing to go? That doesn't work that way. There is an instantaneous awareness that I can go from here to here. And how? There's not even a gap for there. This is the awareness element. This is not the oineg. The oineg is that the feet are alive. But to bring it into action, and to bring into action, I mean, to walk is a very simple action, but you can bring into action in the most subtle, refined manner, like a drawing, a painting, producing music with your fingers. These are all extremely sensitive, fine elements, which are controlled by the chokhmah in the head. And in order to do that, you have to have very full cognizance of awareness of the head, of the foot, whether it's hand or foot, dancing. Fine maneuvers in dancing is also a seichel element. Okay, enough said. The only thing, the most important thing that I wanted to point out is that chokhmah combines two, an external observation and an internal connection.
So what was that short answer? But how do you know? How does a person knows himself?
Excuse me?
How does a person? What means a person knows himself? What was the answer?
He knows that he can do, that he can walk. He knows that he can talk, whether he's talking or not talking.
Okay, but the question was that he's himself. What means he knows? He knows means it's something external.
That's right. So therefore, that's right. He is himself. That is the chai. This is the oineg element, and knowing is the functional element. Right, which comes to the chokhmah.
As if to say, the oineg knows that he's able to function.
No, the chokhmah knows. These are the two different levels in chokhmah. There is the oineg element, and there is the dover. I mean, the dover, the overall context.
So the chokhmah element, the higher one, knows that he's able to bring it down. He's able to function.
It's a lower element of chokhmah. Okay.
Just that we described Chachma, doesn't we associate the attribute of bittul to Chachma? How is this consistent with what we just said right now? Being real is the antithesis of a bittul, this sense of awareness. This bittul seem to contradict this sense of awareness, unless you say it's an awareness without like the pratim. I'm aware of this, not because I'm capable of moving my hand or my foot. I'm just aware of it.
The bittul is, that's right, it is two different levels, because the bittul, that's the oineg itself, that's the helam. The mitzias is a mitzias of chokhmah that provides for mitzias. If not for the mitzias, then there couldn't be any bina. You wouldn't know what to understand. All right. So again, in the line that begins with the word ho'atzmus. So we're saying that there is the oineg that is inherent in atzmus itself, and that oineg is not b'chinas hamshocha at all. It is part and parcel of the etzem. V'zehu, and that explains. But b'yom Kippurim shehu yom hatshuva. Yom Kippurim is the year of tshuva. We explained already that tshuva touches upon this element. Thank you. Tshuva touches upon this element. That you bypass the entire structure and you go straight to the Chayes HaNefesh itself. And the same thing is in Avodah. The Nefesh, as we pointed out, now we can fully lay it out. As the Rambam says, there is an inherent connection in the Nefesh to the Motzei Rishon. Which the Rambam says that you have to know it, that's already a much lower level. From this connection, you bring it down to knowledge. That's a mitzvah to get to know it. But the essential awareness of it, the essential connection, that's part of the nefesh itself. That's much higher than knowledge. That's in the etzem nefesh and the etzem oinag nefesh. In those, there is the union, his connection to the Motzei Rishon. And
It's not really awareness.
what? It's not even awareness. No, it's right. This can come, and this is where the tshuva comes. Tshuva is when the nefesh awakens and it just goes back to its source. and like you put him shu yemat tshuva, which is demo tshuva. Also, b'achilu shtiyah, and Yom Kippur is forbidden to eat and drink. What's wrong with eating and drinking? Eating and drinking brings life into the body, which means life at the bodily level. We have, so to speak, pinpointed the element of nefesh in the human being, and we said that human being is not a living body. It is life in a body. So life is a reality in the human being. If it's a reality in the human being, in what way is he in the body? That this reality is becoming, is conscious, is functions to the body. It actually gives life to the body. But the giving life to the body is for the purpose that the body should be able to relate to the life itself. In order for the body to relate to life itself, it has to eat and drink. The body has to be maintained alive. And through eating and drinking, this is how it becomes aware of the oinag nefesh. Like we said, that a tina gedei likres abu ema by eating tam dogon. That actually correlates him to a union from nefesh. So achilu shtiyah is, there's nothing negative about it. And again, that this is the way the nefesh relates to the body is become away from nefesh. But in Yom Kippur, which is Yom HaTshuvah, that is supreme point. This is also achilu shtiyah, because there you relate to nefesh not via bodily experience, but to nefesh directly. The Hainu, and that is this. The reason for it, as we said many times, and the word reason in Lashon Kodesh is tam, the taste of it. Now, but what is the real oinag, the reality of this? Shehu bechinas tainug ho'atzmi. The atzmo saying so. Yom Kippur represents tshuva, which is tainug ho'atzmi of atzmo saying so, which is not nimshach. And it is in the etzem, she'eni bo b'murgesh klal, and thus there is not an awareness of it. And bo b'murgesh, it's not. There's no sense. You don't sense it. Like we said, Yedei likres abu ve'emo. A child, by tasting food, his mind develops, his seichel develops. That's one taste brings out another taste. But there's no taste in it. This is the etzem directly. in our Mishalim, this can be understood from the simple motion of the host and the guest. There is the tangible relationship, the attention, the treatment, the setting down, and the presenting the food in a respectable manner. All of these things are also part of the Oina Gamurkash. You could sense the connection. You sense the care from the host to the guest and the guest to the guest. But then there is an element that has no representation. As we said, that element, all his care for the guest and so forth, can be expressed in what kind of food he serves him and how he serves him, and the care and the gentleness with which he cares him. All of these things. But then there is the element of his personal presence. Why does he get for his personal presence? And yet, when we talk about, so to speak, the essential element of the human relationship, the personal presence, that is the central reality of what's taking place. That cannot be replaced. That cannot be represented by anything. And there is no way to describe it. I mean, we can speak about it, so to speak, on human terms, but the fact is, the sense that this is the pivot, that this is the reality that's taking place, that cannot be substituted by anything, that really speaks for it. It says something way beyond human experience, way beyond Islamshus, way beyond Chokhmah. It's an essential event. And we spoke many times. I said it's an essential union. Brings us face to face with the principle that we mentioned many times, that the human being, in the human being, the Eibishter provided, gave an essential reality. Like we said, the human being, his presence in the world makes the world into a real world. Just his presence. Because he has a godly reality in him. As we know that the neshama, the neshama that was put in the human being, that neshama does not severed from its source. It's the Rebbe himself present in him. It is not just a force of life. This is the godly reality. So the human being, this is something that's not novel. We discussed it many times. This is what the principle of his presence in the world, the ownership and so forth. So, in this reality reflects itself. This is the essential element of what a human being is. And it reflects itself in certain moments, like they described in this host and guest. The truth is, a human being, a self-respecting human being, so to speak, that is the level at which he functions. But the Gemara says that there's nahamo diksufa. A person needs to eat. And it's very important, and it helps him to experience life and to learn and daven, so he needs to eat. But nahamo diksufa means what? Not insulting bread. Nahamo means embarrassing bread. Bread that he has gotten without dessert, not deserved. He can't relate to it. What's so terrible about that? It's food. I mean, you can use it for all kinds of good things. This is what's called, this is an essential element. There is no way to explain it. A human being, a Yid, needs to sense, needs to get everything directly, directly from Hashem's hand. And if it comes any other way, he can't really associate with it in his true sense.
Can't just understand. So when you say she'enu bo v'mukish klal, it doesn't. Is a correct statement to say yes, a person is experiencing it, but not as a separate entity. Which would imply I'm aware of my hand, I'm aware of this. But when it gets to like Yom Kippur, you are experiencing, but as something atzmi, not as something external. Is that correct or incorrect?
Yes and no.
Good. But
You
so-
are aware, you're doing tshuva, but you're not experiencing it.
You're
What
not-
is it that's personal? Experiencing means that there
And
is
this,
there is a way to. What?
that you're subsumed in what's ever happening. You're not separate. You like an Elah. You don't think about yourself. You just think
Experiencing
Yeah.
is a distinction between yourself and what you experience.
Oh, I'm using the word just the opposite. Okay.
It has to be. If it is yourself, it's yourself. Yeah, it's true that human being is also a creation. He's not self-created, so therefore he's experiencing his personal presence.
What word would the Rav use instead of experiencing it? I use experience to mean say that he's not a separate entity. So what word would the Rav use instead of experience? What would you use? A word which would imply you're there, but you're not experiencing.
He and his action are one and the same thing. His action is not a separate entity. He
Good,
decides
good.
to act a certain way.
Okay, good.
It's him.
Good.
Tshuva is the essence itself.
Okay, good.
Which is halachically, a person can do tshuva in one instant. Tshuva is not part. The action of tshuva is not bisman u'mokim. It doesn't need time and space. Which action in a person doesn't need to know? That's a man.
Good. Very good.
The mashal for this is two people standing. They can be very close to each other, but if they're back to back, they're as distant to each other as possible. What does it take to turn around? So physically, it still takes. But the ruchnius, it takes nothing. Because this back-to-back in ruchnius is not really back-to-back. It's not paying attention, I'm paying attention. I'm here, I'm not here. This is what's true.
Person, I'm sorry, this is really hard for me, but the person's not aware that he makes that turn to tshuva.
What?
Person is not aware that he makes that turn to tshuva. I mean, I would.
A person may be aware that he makes that turn, but the turn is not made on the basis of awareness. He's aware of it, so to speak, before the fact and after the fact. He's aware that he is distant, and he's aware that he is close. But the turn itself, it doesn't take, it's not a presence.
Not a presence, not a process. It's just.
Not a process. The turn is, oh yeah, I'm here. I was here all the time.
Turn is that his essence becomes revealed.
Yeah.
Turn is that.
You mean his essence was there all the time. But he was doing it in the wrong direction. Now he's not doing it in the wrong direction.
So it's not something that comes through distance.
Distance makes you aware that you're not yourself.
And that awareness that leads you to the moment of the turnaround. No, it's not the turnaround itself. It's what brings you to that moment.
Yes, I mean, this is what breaks through the layers of your other interests. But the nekuda of tshuva itself is a one nekuda.
Is it?
It's one nekuda. It's one. Doesn't take up space and time. Because the neshama is always one with the Meibush.
It's always one.
Always one with Hashem. What?
Is it connected to this motion that the Rebbe gives and gives a show about a rope that attached above?
No. That's not it. That's the effect. That's the effect of Avedis.
I'm saying, but as long as you stop pulling it the wrong direction, it's still attached above. Attachment is attachment.
On the contrary, the Alter Rebbe there says that through Aveda you can sever the attachment. That's a different way. Okay. This is shot.
This
Yeah.
discussion over here about tshuva is relating to the union of loy morgash plow.
Right.
Tshuva is loy morgash plow.
The connection that is expressed in tshuva is etzem to etzem, and therefore that oinig is as they say oinig in etzem she'ein bo b'murgish klal. Doesn't express itself. What happened over here? Nothing. Ukmeshin is boy liyil, as we explained before in the end of Master Shabbos Shabbosim, Be'inyan be'asrei lavurcha l'meicha, that be'asrei in the place of the king is not a place for eating.
It's not a place for what?
For eating, l'meicha, to eat. Zehu, and this too, what the Pasuk says by Yom Kippur, Ki be'onon eiroa, that the Kohen Gadol, it said the Kohen Gadol may not enter the Kodesh except on one moment, Ki be'onon eiroa, that with this cloud I will be seen. What onon is it referred to? Be'anan hakteres di tshuva, eiroa be'atzmusi. The word Eiroa means I will appear, I will be seen. I will be seen means that not I will show, but I will be seen. Showing is what I choose to show. Eiroa, I will be seen because I'm there, that's why I'm seen.
Whose voice is this saying this?
The Rebbe says. I will be seen. How will be seen? But non-dictators, the tshuva. Because of dictators of tshuva bin kippur, eiroa be'atzmusi. And that's why eiroa implies atzmusi, my very essence, not what I'm going to show, but I myself will be seen. And that is the power of tshuva, and this is what Yom Kippur represents. So all this, bringing in Kippur, Achil Ushtia, and all this, is to make the point that Shuvah is beyond Chochmah, even beyond the Helem Oatzmi of the Helem of the Oinek that is contained in Chochmah. Therefore,
The last point that you said is because that Helen of Einig and Chokmah, that is B'morgish.
that is B'murgash, yes.
I will be seen. I'm sorry, I'm stuck on this. It's seen. What does that mean? What's this seen? It's we're saying that it's totally beyond. It's not.
We said before that there is a difference between Eliyas HaSeichel and Eliyas HaGashmi. different difference. We discussed then.
So two different.
Well, yeah. You
One
remember
is
the difference?
yeah. One
Okay.
is that
Speak up. So I'll enjoy it. I know that it was listening. Go
I'm
ahead.
afraid I'm going to get.
Don't worry. Go ahead.
One is that Re'iyas HaSeichel takes active concentration to involve yourself in the Inyan to be able to focus in on it, whereas Re'iyah B'Gashmi is just right. It doesn't take that. It's right in front of you. You can't miss it.
And
therefore, we say that it's a deeper. It's a deeper Inyan because it's you see it because it's there, not because of any action on your part, any kind of involvement on your part.
Right. This involvement on your part, even though it's citing, but it's citing on the basis that has a support of reason. I know what I'm seeing. I'm seeing it because it makes sense that it should be. In that itself, there are many different levels. At all levels, he as HaSeichel has that element, that Seichel supports that seed, that side. Whereas in Iyah Gashmis is entirely on itself. It's totally it's as effortless, it's total. Which means in Iyah Gashmis, it's true, it's Re'iyah. You have to understand this is Oina Gashmis, it's not Asmis, you don't see Asmis. The Pasuk says clearly, Moshe Rabbeinu was told, there's no way you can see me. But there is that which you can see because I'm allowing it to be seen. And it's in the Iyah Gashmis. But the Iyah Gashmis means that you will see Elokus without the utilization of your intellect at all. This is what's seen in Shul.
So Morgash is when your koichas are involved. Morgash is an element.
You sense something. Even when we speak about in Chochmah comes in the form of Borag HaMavrik. First of all, Borag HaMavrik also has time. It's a short period of time, but it's a time element. And you're observing. And through this Borag HaMavrik, at the time when Borag HaMavrik, I'm sure everybody had that experience at one point, and it's a simple, on a higher level. The Borag HaMavrik really illuminates a certain idea. And now you have what to delve into. There is, so to speak, an expanse of space that it illuminates. Even though it's for a moment. That is Oinag Above Murgash. Then there is that which is not which does not appear at all. It is not something that you. How do you see it? In Shul. That's why the Kohen Gadol entering the Koche Koche with all the proper preparations, with the Ketores and so on, his bodily life was teetering on a shoestring. Because if he becomes aware of his bodily life at that moment, he's finished. It cannot tolerate. The Kohanim Gdolim, during the second Beis Hamikdash, used to enter Koche Koche with a chain attached to their foot. And they went.
So, Rabbi Paltiel?
Yeah.
It seems like the distinction between B'morgush and Loy B'morgush is that in Morgush, at whatever level, you're still there.
Right.
There's still a separation between whatever it is and you.
You could see, Chochmah is called Murgash.
And loy b'morgush means there's no separation. There's no distance at all.
That's right. And this is the fine difference. We have to focus in. Everybody's senses are different, but we have to focus on the difference between Riya Gashmis and Riya Sein HaSeichel.
Why after this does he now refer immediately to Murgash? As soon as he came to Goyen, that the Eibishter shows himself, then he speaks about Murgash again in the Maimar.
It's not the Murgash. Okay. Okay, let's continue. Being that in Torah, the mitzvah tshuva is actually given in Torah, therefore it proves to us. We must concede. That the shoyresh of Torah also is in Asmus. That's why Tshuva found its way into Torah. If Torah were rooted at the lower level, then Tshuva would not find its way into Torah.
What would not find its way?
Tshuva, the mitzvah of Tshuva. Now we have a kind of expanded, a little bit of a parenthesis, but it's in line with what we're discussing. So we're saying that Tshuva is something which is completely beyond Chochmah. Masha kosu b'Yalkut, that which it says in Yalkut, Omro Teira Yovi Korban. There's a whole discussion. What should be with a sinner? So Torah, the contribution of Torah into a sin. What is the saving the saving possibility for a sinner? So Torah says Yovi Korban. Let him bring a korban. So that means that there is an element of an action regarding the giving tshuva. Amateri avikor. So this is that Yovi Korban, which means that there is an action, which means that there is something, a way of defining what a sin is and how to do tshuva. Zehu k'moisha ha'teira hi b'bchinas chochmah. That is at a much lower in the Torah. This is the way the Torah is in b'chin of chochmah. And then beyond that, v'gam b'korban, but even with the korban, harei tzorich li is tshuva. In korban also tzorich li is tshuva. Because if there is a korban, when you bring a korban for a sin, you have to be misvada. You have to speak out the sin, the name from which you're being korban, and you have to ask for forgiveness. He says, and I'm doing tshuva. That's the part of the yisva in the vidui. Rak, except shezehu tikun hashgogois levad. The whole union of tikkun of korbanos, even though there is also tshuva in this, but this is tshuva is part of the korban because this is tikkun hashgogos. This is the correction of the shgogos, of the inadvertent sin. The hainu tikkun bechinas klipas nega, which is the tikkun, the fixing, the correction for the meaning from klipas noiga. Klipas noiga means, you all know what klipas noiga does briefly. It's klipa, but it's not klipa, the extreme of klipa. It is not a klipa that is completely severed from kedusha. And that is what enables the possibility of shgogas, of an inadvertent sin. And to correct at klipas noiga, it's possible through a korban, bitshuv. Ra gom, but the total ra, the gimel klipas, that is contained in the Gimel Klippas, but there are three total Klippas, deeper Klippas, which is Ragomer, Efsher lehistakin al dei hachochma de Torah. That cannot be corrected through Chochma of Torah. Torah does not have an advice for it, a means to correct it. But then HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, let him do tshuva v'yischaper and he will be forgiven. This is an interesting Yalkut. I'm certain you heard of this. That tshuva, what will be with sinner? So Moshe Rabbeinu said, a sinner, intolerable. He doesn't belong in Hashem's world. Then swallow the Torah, the Eretz Torah, and Torah said, Yobi Korban, should be your Korban Yischaper. Shola Kodesh Baruch said, Yashet Tshuva Yischaper. And do Tshuva. Tshuva can be Mechaper even on that which Torah cannot be Mechaper. Torah can find a Korban for Shgogo. Kodesh Baruch said, Tshuva Yischaper, Hainu Gam Al Ra Goma Di Yim Klippus. This in his chaper, a tshuva can be chaper even on a gomer of gimel klippos. He completely can draw it out completely even from the deepest evil. Shezeho davke mebechinas asmus ein soy. This type of tshuva, to be able to draw out from klippos gimel klippos, this is from asmus ein soy shalamaylo michochma de Torah, which is above the Chochmah of Torah. She'atshuva misakenes hakoil. Tshuva corrects everything. V'harei mitzvah tshuva nemer b'Torah. But then, what do you say? That Torah does not have the means to correct Gimel Klippos. But tshuva corrects in the klippos and mitzvah Torah, mitzvah tshuva is stated in Torah. So therefore Torah has the ability to correct gimel klippos. The answer is, the pasuk says, V'shavta ad havaya lekecha. You will return to havaya lekecha, you will do tshuva, and then you'll be forgiven. Then you'll come back. So how do you say that Torah does not have the means to correct gimel klippos? The answer is, V'hainu k'misha atera that this Indian, that there is tshuva, this is the higher element in Torah, so this is not the essence of Torah, not the real Torah. This is the Torah in its root form, root state.
Rabbi Paltiel?
Yeah, let me just finish this in 2 lines. This is the Indian. That Torah is called Toiv, which means it is pure good, and it can correct everything. I gave you a gift of goodness, which is the goodness of Havaya, which is the opinion from Atzmus itself. Torah. There is an element in Torah that is higher than Chochmas HaTorah, and Torah represents Torah represents its root in Atzmus rather than its own presence, what Torah is.
I could ask you now?
Yes, you can ask.
So it's sort of you said before, tshuva, this is above time and space, and tshuva is really not an action at all. It's instantaneous.
Right.
So when it says, so tshuva is, this is why maybe you said this in the past in Yom Kippur, you don't do anything. You're just there with the Eibishter.
Right.
This is like being with God, not doing something because God says so.
Right.
Is that right?
Yes.
So the expression, the Eibishter says, Yasa is really kind of a misnomer there.
Well,
I normally think of Yasa. It's not a Tasa. It's not an action.
while he is still involved in his sin, then there is a action. But when he is willing to let go of his sin, then there is no action.
So the letting go, this is an action.
This is an action.
But that's not quote unquote doing tshuva.
No, doing tshuva.
It's almost like doing tshuva is not doing tshuva at all. It's being tshuva.
Right. It is recognizing the godly presence and being there with it. There is no.
The action part of it is almost like a hechsher mitzvah.
You could say that. This is like we saying that Riyas Gashmis has a special quality, superior to Riyas Ein HaSeichel. But then Riyas Gashmis also requires your participation in opening your eyes. This opening the eyes is not part of the act and the experience of sight. It is the enabling, facilitator, and is not part of the experience of sight.
So it's like up until that point, even at the point of opening the eyes, or quote unquote letting go, doing tshuva, this is still b'morgush.
This is still the
But what happens after that is loy b'morgush.
Right. All right, we have a few, we don't really have, but I'm going to steal a few minutes just to get into the following thing. This is Zehu the Isa B'Zeya. This is what is brought in, it says in the Zeya. Sh'omro Torah, what Torah said, Bar Nash, this human being, they are Zomim Nivra, that you are ready to create. He is going to sin to you. If you will not extend your anger for him, it's preferable for him not to be created. HaKadosh Baruch said to Torah, am I called Erech Apayim for naught? In other words, for no reason? You don't have, no, you haven't.
This is a conversation between the Eibishter and the Torah.
Right.
Before the creation of man.
Before the creation of man. This was the interchange between Torah and Kuchabriya. Now, what is the point over here? This we'll leave it for tomorrow. The point over here is, we said that Torah brings the mitzvah of tshuva to us, and tshuva really is higher than Torah. But Torah is rooted in Atzmos. So, what does it mean Torah is rooted in Atzmos? If Torah is really below it, so rooted in Atzmos means it knows what's going on in Atzmos, but it itself is not part of it. So then, how does tshuva find its way into Torah? Torah is really a part of it. So here we are going to be asked to understand something in a very subtle manner, that really this is something which is higher than Torah, but the root of Torah is reflected in the Torah itself also, as we shall see in Mitzvah. Okay, this is it for this morning. Have a great day. I go to talk. Yes.
Is that possible?
Well, you already did. You already did.
Okay, but
I have it.
Oh, he has it.
Okay, thank you.
Called it. Sag it. Hold on.
The korban is an action nonetheless. There's the tshuva element that is beyond action. So,
Sorry, what?
the korban, the tshuva that's affected through korban, though the korban is an action, and tshuva is lo b'morgush.
This is a lower level of tshuva. This is tshuva for klipas noiga. So that means he was not really into klipa. Totally.
So therefore the tshuva is not needed.
No, it's needed tshuva. Because tshuva you have to regret what you did. Otherwise it's a joke. But it's not. But you regret it and you bring a korban which shows that you really regret it, and then you get forgiven.
You get forgiven, but it didn't require you to go to the source of atzmus.
That's right. Because it's klipas neiga. The reason that fundamental change, because you were not totally dissociated from Krishna to begin with. Okay.
Yeah.